Welcome back to another message crawler update. Today, let's talk about Teams. Let's go to my screen and I'll show you what we got going on. Alright, so we're here in message crawler, and you know the latest version of Teams import is Teams HTML version 3. This is the one you should be using for pretty much everything. The other ones are there for legacy support in case someone has an old export or something like that, or if they happen to have PST or MSG. So this import and those are the only two that really should be used. So let's talk about version 3 again. And I know I did a video about it, but there have been some updates. So the most important thing that we need to talk about is use of CSV file. So this update adds ability for you to select multiple CSV files. What CSV files will do is, most importantly, they will connect messages with their attachments. That is the biggest reason to use CSV. If you do not have a CSV, link between messages and attachment can be attempted. And here we have a description how it will be done. We'll be using file name plus last two folders. Now, if I have small export, maybe like one custodian, nothing big, I've been getting really great results loading it without CSV. However, if you're going to have multiple custodians on a large set, you absolutely 100% must have CSV. This way of linking messages and attachments is not good enough. So whoever is doing the export, if you're doing the export, you must download that reports.zip that contains items.csv, or if someone else is doing it for you, you have to absolutely demand that those CSV files are given to you. Without those, you cannot confidently and properly reconnect everything together. Your data set will be incomplete. So that's my warning to you. Now, the other thing we'll get with CSV is we can get slightly better metadata. Metadata that's in HTML isn't always good, and sometimes it's poorly formatted. You've seen those warnings before where it says can't parse JSON and things like that. So what message crawler will do is it'll prioritize CSV for metadata as opposed to the HTML/JSON. The next thing we can do here is control our threading. So if you don't have CSV, threading is going to be done by HTML file itself, which I believe is 12-hour chunks. Totally fine, nothing wrong with it. You can do 12 hours and everyone's going to be happy. Just don't tell them it's 12 hours. They wouldn't even know, which is the HTML file. The two other options we have here is we can use CSV subject plus list of unique participants. That's another way of threading. Or we can use thread ID from CSV. Now, the reason why there are options here is because everyone wants something different. And people are saying, okay, well, this works for me, but that doesn't work for me. And I want mine like this and I want mine like that. So if you're not sure, just leave it at default and you're going to be fine. If you have some kind of specific preference, well, you can adjust it here, right? Or maybe Microsoft does something weird and thread IDs happen to be corrupt, or there is some kind of garbage characters in them or something like that. You can always say, okay, no, we're just going to thread by HTML file and I'm going to rely on that field. Done. No problem. So that's why we want to have options. The last thing I want to talk about is this items.zip, and it is super important that you do not extract it, right? The issue is, at least earlier, Microsoft used to put duplicate file names into the zip file. So weirdly enough, in a zip file, in the same folder, you can have multiple files with the same name. Stupid, I know, but there is no active enforcement there. So you get that zip file from Microsoft and then you cannot extract it, right? Because as you try to extract it, it'll say, do you want to overwrite a file? Because file already exists. And there's nothing you can do with that. So this is what this version does, is it reads directly from the zip file to account for that particular issue. I believe Microsoft had fixed it, but people may still have a lot of old exports. And plus, it's just nicer to read right from the zip file. So that's what the version does. You can control-click multiple zip files. In fact, you should, if you have one export, you should load it all together. So you control or shift click and select all the zip files. And of course, before that, you can control click or shift click all the CSV files that you're going to be using for cross-reference. And that will allow you to load data into message crawler. Now, if you are working with very large set, I do recommend you try version 7. If you have a license of version 6, Message Crawler 7, you can use that also. The license covers that. So if you are working with large data sets, give version 7 a try. And that's basically all I wanted to talk about for the Teams HTML. The main takeaway, the most important thing is that CSV file. It is critical to have, and a lot of people who download the data, they just ignore it because it's called reports.zip and they think it's just reports, but it's not just reports. There is metadata that's essential to connecting files and messages together. Oh, one more thing in case someone doesn't read this is after you ingest data, there's going to be a folder called unlinked attachments. The reason why that exists is because sometimes messages cannot be connected with their attachments, either because CSV is broken, HTML is broken, some kind of problem somewhere. I've seen that very infrequently. And I've seen where Microsoft exports eDocs that don't seem to go with any message. So there might be like some random SharePoint file or something like that. So what you'll do is you'll take that unlinked attachments folder and you just process it into your processing tool as regular e-discovery data, just eDocs. And that'll be it. That's what you have to do. So that's it for this update. Thank you for checking it out, and I will see you on another.